We all have moments where we feel stuck battling struggles within ourselves that no one else can see. These challenges often come from deeper issues. We've never fully faced unresolved trauma, fear, self doubt, and habits that keep us from growing. Today, I'm sharing 9 powerful reasons why you may be struggling internally, along with practical ways to recognize and address them. This isn't about fixing everything overnight, it's about understanding what's holding you back so you can move forward with clarity, confidence, and purpose. See, the first thing that gets us in a bind is not truly knowing ourselves. Most people walk around not knowing who they are, like they sleepwalking through life. They're out here guessing, looking for clues in other people's lives, and measuring themselves against some unrealistic picture they built up. But how can you face what's holding you back if you don't know who you are? Self-awareness is that flashlight in the dark room. It shows you what you've got to work with. When you start to understand who you are, you see where you're strong, where you're weak, and where you're just plain confused. You stop living by other people's standards. Instead, you'll say, here I am, here's what I can do, here's what I want. It's amazing how much peace that brings. It's like taking off a mask you've been wearing for years. You'll learn to own your story, both the good and the bad, because that's all a part of knowing yourself. Without self-awareness, every step forward feels shaky, like you're on ice. You don't have a foundation because you're living a life based on other people's expectations, or even worse, their opinions. When you know yourself, you stop being weighed by every little thing. You don't need to seek approval. You don't have to be someone you're not. You can finally move forward because you know where you're coming from. And here's the thing, self-awareness takes work. It takes reflection, maybe even some quiet time alone. That's why a lot of people avoid it. They're afraid of what they might find if they look deep. But that's the only way to grow, the only way to get the root of what's got you struggling. You can't heal what you can't identify. If you're feeling stuck, start by looking at yourself. It's not always comfortable, but it's powerful. Take a little time each day, whether it's in the morning or before bed, and ask yourself, who am I? What do I want? That's the first step out of the struggle. Know yourself better than anyone else does. Fear or failure keep you from ever taking the first step. And here's the truth, everybody's scared of failing. But if you let that fear make all the decisions, you'll never move, never try, and never know what's possible for you. Fear is like a cage. It keeps you locked up, telling you that the worst possible outcome is around every corner. But think about this, what's worse? One never even try. Failure isn't the end of the world, it's a stepping stone. People who fear failure see it as something that defines them, like it's a mark on their character. But people who succeed learn to treat failure like a lesson. They pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and get back into the game. They don't dwell on it or let it make them feel small. They learn, adjust, and try again. And that's what builds resilience. When you're afraid to fail, you keep your dreams small. You don't stretch, you don't risk, and you don't grow. But here's the thing, nothing great ever came from playing is safe. Big dreams require big risk. And yes, sometimes that means big failures too. But if you don't risk it, you'll never know what's on the other side. You'll be stuck in the cycle of what if instead of I did. That most people avoid taking chances because they're scared of what other people will say. They worry about looking foolish, about criticism, about judgment. But let me tell you something, those folks don't live your life. They don't pay your bills. They don't walk in your shoes. If you're going to struggle, let it be on your terms. Not because of what someone else thinks. Get comfortable with failure. Embrace it as part of the journey, because the only real failure is never trying. And once you make peace with failure, that fear starts to lose its power over you. Suddenly, you're not held back. You're free to chase what you want. You've got to have a purpose, something that lights you up every morning. Without purpose, life becomes a series of routines, tasks, and to-do lists that just go on and on. Purpose gives you focus. It makes you passionate and determined. Without it, you're just wandering, hoping something will eventually bring you happiness. Purpose makes life meaningful. When you don't have a purpose, you feel empty. You might feel like you're doing a lot of things, keeping busy, maybe even successful by other people's standards, but still something is missing. That missing piece is purpose. It's the why behind what you do. When you find that everything else lines up, you get direction, you get motivation. and suddenly life feels worth all the struggles. Finding a purpose isn't always easy. You might have to try different things, explore different paths, and step out of your comfort zone. A lot of people think a purpose has to be something grand or world-changing. But it doesn't. It just has to be something meaningful to you. Maybe it's raising your family, building a business, or helping others. Purpose doesn't have to be big, but it has to be true to you. Without purpose, you're vulnerable to distraction. You'll chase terrorists, follow the crowd, end up living a life that doesn't feel like your own. But when you have a purpose, you've got a compass. You know where you're headed, and you don't let distractions take you off course. You have a reason to keep pushing even when things get hard. So, if you feel lost, ask yourself, what drives you? What do you care about? What do you want to leave behind? Because the purpose is what will keep you going. When times get tough, it's the reason you'll wake up each day ready to face whatever comes your way. One of the quickest ways to stay struggling is to constantly comp yourself to others. Now, don't get me wrong, it's normal to look at other people's lives, see what they're doing, wonder how you measure up. But if you're always comparing yourself, you'll never feel good enough. You always see what you don't have rather than what you do have. Comparison is the thief of joy. When you compare yourself to others, you're judging your life based on someone else's standards, someone else's journey. But they're not you and you're not them. You've got your own path, your own challenges, and your own blessings. And when you focus too much on what others have, you miss out on the beauty of your own life. It's like wearing blinders to your own happiness. A big part of this struggle comes from social media. People post their highlights, their best moments, and it can make you feel like you're falling behind. But remember, you're seeing the best parts of their life, not the whole story. You don't see the struggles, the insecurities, or the failures. So don't compare your real life to someone else's highlight reel. Comparing yourself to others also limits your potential. You start setting your goals based on what someone else is doing instead of what truly fulfills you. You get distracted trying to keep up rather than building your own unique life. That's why it's so important to focus on your path. When you let go of comparison, you're free to define success on your terms. Remind yourself each day you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Your journey is unique, and the only person you should be comparing yourself to is who you were yesterday. Focus on growing in your way, and let others do the same. That's where peace comes from. You can't move forward if you're still holding on to things from the past. Many of us carry trauma, big or small, and we think we can just push it down and move on. But unresolved trauma doesn't just disappear. It shows up in our relationships, in our work, and in how we feel about ourselves. It's like trying to run a race while carrying a heavy bag. You're never going to reach your full potential if you don't lighten the load. Trauma affects how you see the world and yourself. It can make you feel unworthy, anxious, or disconnected. You start believing the lies that trauma tells you, like you're not good enough or that you don't deserve happiness. And if you carry that, you'll struggle to feel at peace with yourself. Unresolved trauma has a way of embedding itself into every part of our lives. It's like a shadow that follows you everywhere, shaping your thoughts, reactions, and beliefs. Trauma isn't always about something huge or obvious. It can be small, cumulative experiences that leave you feeling unheard or unsafe. And when these experiences go unaddressed, they start to build walls around you, limiting how you connect with yourself and others. Carrying trauma is like wearing a pair of tinted glasses. Everything you see, feel, and think is affected by it. You may not even realize it's there until it shows up in your actions, holding you back or leading you down a path you didn't want. People often think that burying trauma is the best way to deal with it. We tell ourselves it's in the past, that it doesn't matter anymore. But ignoring trauma doesn't make it disappear. It makes it grow stronger in hidden ways. You might find yourself reacting out of proportion to situations or feeling triggered by things that don't make sense. That's the trauma speaking. We're surfacing the ways you can't control because it hasn't been healed. When trauma remains unaddressed, it controls you from the shadows, shaping your relationships, choices, and even your self-worth. Healing from trauma requires courage, but it's worth it. It's about facing what happened and allowing yourself to process it. That can mean talking to someone, journaling, or finding Practices that help you work through the pain. When you confront trauma, you take back control. You stop letting the past determine your future. Healing doesn't erase what happened, but it allows you to make peace with it, to integrate it as a part of your story without letting it rule you. You're not your trauma. You're so much more than what happened to you. Unresolved trauma also affects how you view yourself. It creates a barrier to self-love and acceptance, whispering lies that you're broken or unworthy. When you carry unresolved trauma, it's easy to think that something is wrong with you, but it's not about you, it's about the things that happened to you. When you work through that pain, you can start seeing yourself more clearly and recognizing your strength, resilience, and worth. The scars may remain, but they no longer define you. So if you feel like something is holding you back, look inward. Ask yourself if there are things from your past that you haven't fully let go of, because facing that trauma, as hard as it may be, is one of the most freeing things you can do for yourself. It's about letting go of the weight you've been carrying so you can finally start moving forward. One of the biggest reasons you might be struggling within yourself is the way you talk to yourself. We often think that our inner dialogue doesn't matter, that it's just a voice in our head. But that voice has power. The words you speak to yourself, especially the negative ones, shape how you see yourself and what you believe you're capable of. Negative self-talk is like a pies into your self-esteem. It's that voice that says you're not good enough or you can't do that, and over time, if you keep listening to it, you start to believe it. Self-talk is something you've picked up over time, influenced by experiences, people and situations. Maybe you had people in your life who criticized you or made you feel small, and now that voice has become your own. But that doesn't mean it's the truth. Negative self-talk is just your mind's way of keeping you safe, but really it's holding you back. When you constantly criticize yourself, you're building walls of doubt, making it harder to believe in your potential. Changing negative self-talk takes work, but it's possible. Start by paying attention to the things you say to yourself. Are you encouraging, or are you tearing yourself down? When you catch those negative thoughts, chilling them, ask yourself if they're true or if they're just old fears. Play or repeat over time. With practice, you can replace those negative statements with affirmations that build you up instead of breaking you down. Positive self-talk isn't about ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing that you deserve kindness, especially from yourself. When you treat yourself with the fame for passion you'd offer a friend, you start to feel stronger and more confident and more capable. And that changes everything. When you believe in yourself, you can face any challenge, overcome any obstacle, and grow into the person you're meant to be. The people around you have a huge impact on your life and the struggles you face within yourself. If you're surrounding yourself with people who don't support you and who bring negativity or drama into your life, is going to affect how you see yourself and what you believe you can accomplish. The wrong people drain your energy, make you doubt yourself, and keep you from growing. They're like weights around your ankles, holding you down when you're trying to rise. Think about who you're spending your time with. Are they people who encourage you, who bring positivity and lift you, or are they people who make you feel small, criticize you, or only show up when they need something? The wrong relationships can make you feel trapped, constantly second-guessing yourself. And when you're struggling within yourself, those voices of doubt out only get louder. If you're surrounded by people who reinforce them, changing your circle isn't easy, but it's necessary if you want to find peace within yourself. It's about choosing people who align with the life you want to build. Look for people who are genuinely happy about your successes, who challenge you to grow, and who believe in your dreams. Those are the people who will help you become your best self, who won't let you settle for less than you deserve. Surrounding yourself with the right people makes a world of difference, and sometimes that means letting go of relationships that don't serve you. It can be painful, but holding on to the wrong people out of habit or fear will only keep you stuck. When you start to fill your life with people who inspire you, who support you, and who see your potential, you notice a shift. You'll feel lighter, more motivated, and more confident. Your struggles within yourself start to fade when you're with people who lift you instead of bringing you down. Perfectionism is another reason you might be struggling within yourself. When you set impossible standards, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Perfectionism tells you that you can't make mistakes, that everything must be flawless, or it's not worth doing, but life doesn't work like that. Perfectionism is a trap because it keeps you from trying, from taking risks, and from learning. It keeps you stuck in a cycle of planning and preparing, but never actually doing it. Perfectionism comes from a place of fear, fear of judgment, fear of failure, and fear of not being good enough. But perfectionism isn't about achieving excellence, it's about control. When you think everything must be perfect, you're really trying to control the outcome to protect yourself from discomfort of imperfection. But life is messy and growth happens when you're willing to get a little uncomfortable, make mistakes, and learn from them. The problem with perfectionism is that it keeps you from moving forward. You spend so much time trying to get everything just right that you miss out on opportunities. You're always waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, but that moment doesn't exist. Perfectionism paralyzes you, keeping you from acting and experiencing life fully. It's like driving with the brakes on, constantly holding yourself back. When you let go of perfectionism, you allow yourself to be human. You recognize that mistakes are part of the process, and that progress is more important than perfection. You start to see that good enough is often more than enough. And with each step, each imperfect action, you're moving closer to your goals, building confidence and creating a life that's real, not flawless. Struggling with boundaries is one of the most common reasons people feel drained and conflicted within themselves. When you don't have clear boundaries, you're constantly pulled in different directions, trying to meet everyone else's expectations while leaving a little time for yourself. Boundaries are about knowing your limits and setting guidelines to protect your time, energy, and mental space. Without them, you end up saying yes when you really mean no, sacrificing your own needs to accommodate others. This lack of boundaries chips away at your sense of self, leaving you feeling used, frustrated, and overwhelmed. People think setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's essential for your well-being. When you set boundaries, you're telling yourself and others that you respect your own needs. This isn't about shutting people out, it's about prioritizing your own health so you can show up in relationships as your best self. Without boundaries, you end up taking on responsibilities that aren't yours, dealing with stress that isn't yours, and absorbing emotions that aren't yours. You become a sponge for everyone else's issues, and that can leave you feeling drained, anxious, and unable to find peace within yourself. A lot of people struggle with setting boundaries because they're afraid of conflict or disappointing others. They worry about being seen as unkind, selfish, or uncooperative. But here's the truth: boundaries make relationships stronger. When you set clear boundaries, people know where you stand, and they understand what you're willing and able to give. It creates respect and clarity, preventing resentment from building up over time. Without boundaries, you're not being honest with others about what you can handle, and eventually that leads to burnout or bitterness. Building boundaries means getting comfortable with saying no when you need to. It's about being able to recognize when something is draining you or causing you stress, and then taking action to protect yourself. This might mean limiting your time with certain people, setting expectations at work, or simply letting others know when you need time for yourself. Saying no doesn't mean you don't care, it means you care enough about yourself to preserve your energy for what truly matters. When you honor your own needs and limits, you start to build a healthier relationship with yourself. You show yourself that you're worthy of respect and that you value your peace and happiness. This self-respect creates a foundation for confidence and inner strength. When you practice setting boundaries, you take control of your life, making it clear to yourself and others that you're not just here to please or serve. You're here to live a life that feels fulfilling and balanced, where your needs are just as important as anyone else's. In the end, all these struggles come down to one: to burning to put yourself first in the most meaningful ways. You've got to know yourself, own your story, and set a standard for how you're going to treat yourself from here on out. It's not easy, and it doesn't happen overnight, but when you start to embrace self-awareness, move past the fear of failure, discover your purpose, stop comparing yourself in the past, heal from the passion, no longer holding yourself back, break free from negative self-talk. Surround yourself with the right people. Let go of perfectionism and protect your peace with boundaries. When you do that, you'll feel a shift. Life becomes a journey of growth instead of a struggle. You start seeing yourself not as a collection of flaws, but as someone who deserves happiness, respect, and fulfillment. Every step you take is an investment in the life you truly want, so don't be afraid to do the work. Give yourself the grace to struggle, to stumble, and to keep going, because the reward isn't just reaching some perfect destination, is finding peace within yourself and the strength to become the best version of who you already are.